Hey guys, it's Phil coming back at you with another video! Today, I'm back. I'm excited. I'm pumped up. Hopefully everyone's doing well, practicing self-care, not letting one thought, one situation, one person take them outside of what they know to be true, and that you're building yourself up. You're not letting the noise get to you. You're not letting anything get inside of your mind, because once you let things inside of your mind, they're going to influence you forever as long as you let them to. So again, being mindful, not letting one thought, one situation, one person, not letting your own self, not letting nothing, not letting the exam, but staying locked and loaded to become the best possible version of yourself, to go into the exam, to kick it directly in the chest, to get the job done. And I know 52 people just did that since my last video. So 52 people winning the exam, kicked it directly in the chest to get the job done. And a lot of people on this list were like doubting themselves. They weren't sure if they should be able to go in the exam. They wanted to give up on themselves. They weren't even sure if social work was right for them. They're having all these different stressors prevent them. But I kept telling everybody on this list, man, just keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. Because as long as you keep striving and driving to the right direction, you will become the best possible version of yourself. It may not be on the first time. It may not be on the second time. It may not be on the third. It may not be on the fourth. But as long as you keep trying, keep clawing, and keep grinding, you'll go in the exam, kick it directly in the chest to get the job done. And the people that have passed are as follows: Mary G, Andrew B, Crystal F, Ariel V, Rocio V, Amber C, Anna P, Mary W, Allie L, Tessie L, Susan S, Rochelle M, Valencia K, Mary E, Lindsay B, Carla K, Andrea J, Nicole J, Lydia R, Danielle B, Katie B, Ave M, James G, Jenny J, Catherine C, Mindy S, Amy B, Courtney K, Andrea S, Sandra, Katie J, Leslie R, Nicole D, Edith B, Abby C, Matt, Kedra A, Maddie J, Brian F, Lisa F, Colette Q, Emily D, Christina H, Maria M, Lynette R, Adria S, Nat, Marcus C, Madison E, Laura P, Dylan L, and Andrea A. And I'm so excited, man, because like I said, a lot of people on that list, it wasn't their first time going to the exam, but they were doubting themselves. They were beating themselves up. They weren't even really sure if they should keep trying to take the exam. But at the end of the day, you have to keep going. You have to keep striving. You have to keep driving, because the moment that you make a promise to yourself to get this done should be the moment that you continue to have the passion for the totality of the mission of what you're doing. And if you go on the exam to kick a Dracula in the chest as well, and you're repping and rocking with me and you want me to give you a shout out as well, send me an email at berda24@gmail.com. And if you're like, man, Phil, I want to rep and rock with you as well. Man, I'm not really sure what I can do. I'm beating myself up. The materials I'm not even sure even how to study. I want to go into the exam and kill it as well. The easiest way to do that is to attend the Sunday study groups that I have. And the Sunday study groups are paid study groups every single Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern time until they kick us out. They can't kick us out because I'm the host, and I don't really provide an end time, because the end time is however long it takes us to get through it, and each topic varies, but they typically range from anywhere from 4 to 5 to even potentially 6 hours long, depending on what session that we are looking at. And if you want to come to the Sunday study groups, the next ones that are coming up are as follows: 9/11, going over research, program development, and program evaluation. So going over the stages of research, we're going over different types of research, the different lengths of time. We're also going over independent, dependent variable, and all the different components related to research, going over the stages of program development, going over program evaluation, the different types of program evaluation, and not giving you ways to be able to memorize those things, but being able to recognize and apply it as you can see it in the exam, and going over practice questions related to those. The next one after that is 9/18, client interventions. So going over individual therapy modalities, going over family modalities, not ways to memorize them, but being able to differentiate between each different modality that you particularly could see, and going over practice questions related to those. The next one after that is 9/25, DSM-5 children. So going over different DSM-5 diagnoses that you can see in the children population, as well as going over practice questions related to those. And again, these sessions are not ways for you to be able to memorize the information, but actually be able to retain and gain the information and be able to apply it to practice questions. And the next one after that is 10/2, practice questions. So going over the different types of questions that you can see on the exam. the 6-step process that I recommend every single person utilize as they're breaking down questions, going over different tips that I find helpful for people to go into the exam to kick it directly in the chest to get the job done, as well as going over practice questions. And I always say, do not come into the practice question sessions expecting to get every single question correct, because the questions that I construct typically are more difficult than the ones on the actual exam. And a lot of times people will come into those sessions expecting to get them correct. They don't get as many correct as they would like to. They beat themselves down, degrade themselves, even want to reschedule their test. And I always tell them, do not give up. Don't get critical, get curious, and identify what are ways that you can better improve your process. The next one after that is 10-9, community intervention. So going over the stages of community organizing, going over the different types of advocacy, going over the different phases and stages of case management, and going over practice questions related to those. And again, these sessions are going to have practice questions related to the concepts and content that is being reviewed. But again, these sessions are not ways to help you memorize anything. It's being able to help you be able to recognize and apply it to go into the exam to kick it directly in the chest to get the job done. And if you want to attend the sessions, you can either, one, send me an email at berda24@gmail.com, or click the link down below in the description, which is under the title, which is View More. It'll take you to my calendar, and you'll be able to schedule whichever sessions you want. And again, these Sunday sessions are paid sessions, so these are not free study groups, because I get emails all the time of like, man, Phil, I'm trying to sign up for the free study groups. The free study groups are the sessions that I do one time per month. Well, the Sunday study groups are paid study groups to allow for people to get information and be able to build themselves up and to become the best possible version of themselves and go in the exam to kick it directly in the chest to get the job done. And if there are topics that are not on the upcoming live Sunday sessions that you want to review as well, it is 100% possible to get previous study groups that I've reviewed as well. So if you want any information related to those, then send me an email at berda24@gmail.com, as well as I do still offer individual tutoring sessions. So if you want to work with me directly and better understand different content areas or how to break down the questions, or see if your process of breaking down the questions is on point or not, it's 100% possible. You can send me an email at berda24@gmail.com, or click the link down below in the description, which is the View More under the title, and it'll have all the calendars, all the sessions that I offer. And again, from the bottom of my heart, I appreciate every single person that is either attending the study groups or repping and rocking with me individually, as well as the next one-day course is going to be this Saturday, 9/10, starting at 11 a.m. Eastern time and going until they kick us out. They can't kick us out because I'm the host, and I don't provide an end time to this session either. I provide a parameter of like, man, it's likely going to be 12 hours, but the previous ones have been 13 hours, 14 hours. And again, I'm going until you get all your questions answered, get as much as you possibly can. And the one-day course has been the most successful thing, because one, it's the most amount of time that you get with me, but two, people have attended seminars or sessions with other people, and they're like, man, I'm not really sure if this is going to be helpful, but I'm actually going to be giving you tangible tips and also having you go through difficult practice questions, because I do not want you to be practicing easier questions and then go into the exam and get killed. So that's why, again, similar to what I said for the 10-2 session, these questions are going to be more difficult than the ones on the actual exam. So come into the sessions open and curious and being able to understand what is going on with them for your situation, versus assuming, jumping to conclusions, and taking yourself outside of what you know to be true, because at times you may have a way of doing things, but if something is challenging you, you need to accept the lesson and blessing that comes with that. So if you're like, man, Phil, what is the one-day course? The one-day course is going to go over the tips that I find most helpful for people to go into the exam to kick it directly in the chest to get the job done. The most common reasons why people have failed the exam, because what better way to better understand things that you need to be mindful of than to take the experiences of other people that have failed the exam. We're going to be going over a mixture of different topics. We'll go over subpoena versus court order, referral versus supervision, operant conditioning. We'll go over the personality disorders, the schizophrenia spectrum, the differences between bipolar 1 and bipolar 2 disorders. We'll go over the medications. We'll go over the acronym. We'll go over the 6-step process that I recommend every single person to go on the exam to kick it directly in the chest to get the job done. And then we'll finish it off with practice questions. And again, if you're finding yourself doubting yourself, beating yourself up, you're feeling unmotivated, you're not really sure what you need to be doing in order to prepare yourself for the exam, the one-day course is what I would recommend for you to attend, because again, it packs the most punch. It gives you the best opportunity to not just memorize things, but be able to recognize and apply, as well as go through difficult practice questions and to solidify what you need to do in order to go into the exam to kick it directly in the chest to get the job done. Again, that's going to be this Saturday, 9/10, starting at 11 a.m. Eastern time until they kick us out. And same thing with the Sunday study groups. The one-day course is going to be recorded, so if you're not able to attend the session at all, or if you're only able to attend part of the session, it's 100% possible to review whatever information that you want to, and the recording is good as long as you need it to be within for your situation. But if your exam is prior to that and you want to rep and rock with the previously recorded version, it's 100% possible. So if you want information related to the live one-day course or the recorded version, send me an email at berda24@gmail.com. As well as, for those that do not know, Audible's continued to partner with me on my YouTube videos and my podcast. So if you want to support me as well as support them, go to my Audible affiliate link at audibletrial.com/fill-in-the-gaps. Sign up for the 30-day free trial, get yourself a free book, and Audible is an easiest way to be able to support me, and it costs you absolutely nothing. So from the bottom of my heart, I appreciate every single one of you guys that have already done that. But if you're curious of like, man, what is Audible? Audible's been an easy way to get information on the go. So if you're busy just like me and you still want to progress and become the best possible version of yourself, it's 100% possible to do so based on the fact that Audible is an easy way to listen to information on the go to become the best possible version that you possibly can be. So if you want to support me as well as support them, go to my Audible affiliate link at audibletrial.com/fill-in-the-gaps. Sign up for the 30-day free trial and get yourself a free book, or click the link down below in the description, which is again the view more under the title. Click the Audible affiliate link, register for the 30-day free trial, get yourself a free book. And if you're curious of what book that you should get, there are a couple that I would recommend, and they are as follows: The Alchemist, The Archer, Traumatized, and Outliers. Each of them have different lessons and blessings to not just help you progress professionally, but personally to become the best possible version of yourself. And I know those books have definitely impacted how I view myself and how I navigate and how I also view different situations to become the best possible version of myself as well. And if you haven't already, do me a favor, hit the like button down below, which is the thumbs up button by the title. It helps other amazing social workers just like you find my videos as well. And if you could do me a favor, comment something down below, either something positive that you've been going through, if you've passed the exam, or just something in general, because I read every single comment, and it's very helpful for me to read all the different things that you guys have been going through, all the positive things that you've been doing. If you went in the exam to kick it directly in the chest to get the job done, because it is amazing how many people are repping and rocking in the Fill in the Gaps community and how much you guys are actually accomplishing with and for your situation. And if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button down below, hit the bell notification next to it, because it is going to allow for you to receive an email every single time that I upload a video just like this. And I appreciate every single one of you guys that have subscribed to the channel, that have commented, that like the videos, that are repping and rocking with me, because from the bottom of my heart, I appreciate every single one of you guys, because it's always amazing to me how many people have went in the exam, kicked it directly in the chest, how many people are part of the Fill in the Gaps community, and how many people are still striving and driving to become the best possible version of themselves as well. And if you did not know, I revived the podcast that I have. So if you're like, man, I didn't even know that you had a podcast, you can search for Fill in the Gaps on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, or Spotify. So again, I appreciate every single person that listens to the podcast and that has left a review on that as well. And like I said, from the bottom of my heart, I appreciate every single one of you guys. Hope to see you guys in the one-day course. Hope to see you guys in individual tutoring. Hope to see you guys in the Sunday study groups. But I also hope that you guys are progressing into becoming the best possible version of yourself. I'm going to provide a couple of things that have been on my mind, and then we'll get into practice questions at the tail end. So if you're not even really curious on what I've been thinking about, or you're not looking for motivation or anything like that, because I know that's not everybody's stroke, then skip ahead. We'll be going through practice questions to show you how to break them down, better understand what your process could be to go into the exam to kick it directly in the chest. But for those that are like, man, I'm struggling to pass the exam, or man, I'm struggling on breaking down questions, or man, I'm doubting myself, I'm not even really sure what I particularly need to be doing. Things that have been going through my mind are stay consistent in whatever you do. And I know it's easier said than done, but why that's been going through my mind is a lot of things have been going haywire in my life. You guys know that things are not always perfect within my situation, or everything's not always perfect for everybody, but consistency is the only way that you can ensure that you're doing the best thing that you can do for yourself. And what I mean by that is a lot of times when people go through adversity, or a lot of times when people go through negativity, or a lot of times when people don't have things go how they want to, they almost neglect the things that have been working for them because they almost are like suppressing themselves away from who they want to be because they don't feel like they're the best possible version to get themselves in that situation. And what I mean by that is, let's say you're breaking down questions and you're not getting as many correct as you want to, you're going to start making compromises and adaptations to the process that you're utilizing in order to change the result of what is there. But my push for you is to not get critical, but get curious. And what I mean by that is, if somebody gets a question wrong, their initial reaction is like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I got that wrong, or man, what am I not doing, or da 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 da. And I hear all the time like, man, Phil, this question's wrong. I can't believe you wrote it this way, or man, I already know the answer to this question and you're wrong, and all these things. And I always tell people, get curious. Why are you getting the question incorrect? Is it your process? Is it the information that somebody once told you? Is it you adding things into the question? Is it you taking things away? Is it you half reading the question? Is it you having the answer, second guessing yourself and going with another answer? So again, when you're going through a difficult situation, get curious, not critical. Being critical is like, man, it's almost coming from the negative lens of like, all right, I need to either criticize myself, criticize the person that's supposed to be working with me, or man, I'm just going to run away from the situation because if I don't have anyone know, or if I can't accept the fact that I'm not doing the things that I want to be doing, it's easier for me to put a sheet over and hide than to actually identify what do I need to do to improve, as well as what are some things that need to be changed, or what adaptations do I need to make in my life. So again, when you're going through a difficult situation, don't get critical, but get curious, and as well as let your pride just ride and stay positive in order for yourself to grow into the best possible version of yourself. Because if you look at the word pride, you separate the P out for positivity. Just let that ride. Just let whatever you want the situation to be ride, but embrace the positivity from the situation, but let your ego, let your perception of not ever being able to make a mistake go. Let it go. Because if you've ever tried to accomplish something, you're likely not going to be perfect the first time. Let the perfectionism go. Let whatever you expect yourself to be doing go. Because it's oftentimes our perception of where we want to go that are going to prevent ourselves from staying in the same place and never get into the spaces and places that we deserve to be. And what I mean by that is, a lot of times people will say, man, Phil, I'm not sure what I'm doing wrong, or man, this other program told me that I should be reading the last sentence, or man, this other program told me I should be looking at first, next, best, most, or man, this other program told me that I shouldn't trust my judgment, I should trust them. And what I always say is, who is they? Who is they? How are they going to be helping you pass the test if you don't actually believe what they're telling you to be true? Again, that doesn't mean that anytime that you're wrong, that you need to just shut down and say, okay, I'm just not going to listen to that anymore. And that's what oftentimes happens, is either in individual tutoring or in the groups that I have, or just in general, somebody will get a question wrong or they'll make a mistake, but they're not willing to own up to the mistake. Their pride and their inability to say, I'm able to make a mistake, or man, I'm more prone to being perfect than I want to improve. Because a lot of times people aren't looking for correction, they're looking for somebody to confirm and affirm who they are. And when you look at confirm and affirm, it's somebody staying firm in what they know, and somebody's looking for somebody to just say you're correct, versus, hey, I'm not sure if I'm doing this right. And if somebody gives you a correction, you have to analyze it and say, does this make sense for me? And does it make sense for the situation? But a lot of times, as professionals or as people, we don't like when people try to make adaptations to our process. We are so solidified, and we let our accomplishments and our skills and abilities lock us into a mode. But the problem is, you oftentimes forget what it took to get into the mode that you've created. Because the majority of times when people are locked and solidified and shut down in a mode that they're in, they've told themselves that this is what I need to be doing in order to stay safe. This is what I need to be doing in order to be X, Y, and Z. But the problem is, a lot of times people's coping skills or their resiliency factors are outdated, and similar to our phones, we have to update our phones. We're not just going to let our phones run slow. We're not just going to let our phones just stop working. But the problem is, people don't have the ability or they don't want to change who they are or upgrade what they are doing in order to be a better mode of themselves, they would rather stay solidified and let their pride take them out. But again, pride comes before the fall. So if you're so prideful, if you're not taking the feedback, or you're like maybe not taking adaptations, or you're not looking to grow, you got to ask yourself, what am I doing for myself right now? What am I doing by not making that change? What am I doing if I just stay in the mode that I'm in? And I was talking to somebody the other day, and they're like, man, Phil, I took this other program and they told me I have to break it down this way, or they told me I have to look for these buzzwords such as feelings, gather information, CPS, APS, all these different things. And I'm like, okay, well, let's do a practice question. So then we went through a practice question and they immediately were like, all right, that one says feelings. It's an intake, feelings, boom, I'm good. I'm out of the question. And I'm like, okay, well, that's wrong. And they're like, what? That's not wrong. Feelings is always first. We always got to validate person. And I'm like, okay. So why not the other answers? And then as we're going through the other answers, they're starting to realize, like, holy smokes, I would never have picked the answer that I picked based on what is being presented and what the answer choices say. But most times people are not looking for the actuality of what's in the question. They're looking for the answer that they want to be true, and they're being blinded by all the rest of the details that are in the question. So, and why I say that is because in life, if you stay in that mode, you're going to continue to look for facts. You're going to continue to look for things that are going to prove what that you know to be true. And that's why I always say it's okay to have an opinion. It's okay to do what you know to be true. But if somebody's providing you information and it is actually correct information, but you're closed off and saying, nope, I'm not listening to that because it's challenging what I know to be true, you got to really ask yourself, at what angle am I coming from? Am I coming in an angle to improve myself? Or am I coming from an angle of, you know what, I already know all of the answers? But the problem is people don't really think, okay, well, I've not gotten the result that I want, but I'm not willing to make any changes to what I know to be true. Then it's like, okay, well, if you don't make any changes to what you're doing, or if you're not making adaptations, or if somebody's trying to help you and they're giving you practical strategies and techniques to improve your process, then what are you trying to accomplish right now? So that's my push, is 1, stay consistent, 2, stay curious, but 3, identify what you want. What is the purpose for why you're doing the things that you're doing? Like, again, everyone that is particularly watching this video is like, man, I want to better break down the questions, but I also want to go in the exam and pass. Okay, well, how do we get you to pass the test? What are the things that you've been doing? What are the things that you've not been doing? What are some things that you've wanted to do, but you are afraid to do them? Or, man, what are the things you've been doing? Are the things that you've been doing actually working for you? And if not, you have to ask yourself, is it the way that I learn? Is it the way that I should be doing things? Or why is the person telling me the things that they're telling me? And a lot of times people come to me after somebody has sold them something, or somebody has told them that this is going to be the silver bullet, or man, this is going to help you in every way that you think that you need to be helped. But at the end of the day, once they start actually reviewing that program, and once they start breaking down the questions in the way the person told them, they may get the answer correct in that program, but when they go into the exam, it's like they are looking at a totally different exam. And I got an email just the other day. They're like, man, Phil, I was so pumped up and motivated when I was killing that other practice exam, or man, I was killing all these other exams, and then I started coming to your sessions and I started getting questions wrong, and I cut you off and said, man, this Phil guy's not trying to help me. He's just trying to hurt me and makes me want to doubt myself. And then I went into the test and I was like, holy smokes, these questions I've been practicing were not the right questions that I should have been practicing, and I failed the test. And the first thing that I did after I got outside of the test is thought about, man, maybe what would have happened if I wouldn't have stopped coming to Phil's sessions, because his questions were more difficult than the actual exam. I wasn't open to the meshing. I was not open to the message at that given moment. But what I have to do now is stay open to discomfort, because sometimes discomfort is going to help me become comfortable in a situation that I know that I need to be in. But the problem is, oftentimes, people will mistake discomfort for pain, and pain is something that is going to cause you a negative impact on your situation, but discomfort is something that is going to be present in every situation that you have never been in. So that's why I always say, get curious, because when you're first learning something, you're not going to be a perfect person at it. You're not going to be proficient, but what you have to be is consistent, because it's the person that's going through adversity. It's the person that's trying something new, and they may not be perfect, but as long as they stay consistent and stay trying to do something over time, they will surpass the person that is closed off. They will surpass the person that is willing to give up. They will surpass the individuals that are negative. They will surpass the people that have been doubting them and saying, you can't do this. And a lot of times when people tell you that you can't do something, it's coming from their own perspective of they've not done it, or they've been told by somebody else that it's not possible, and they've made that their story. And I was talking to somebody last night even, and they're like, man, Phil, I looked at the ASWB statistics and my social identity, I'm disadvantaged on this list. And I said, I understand that it's difficult for statistics to kind of paint your picture, but what would that look like if you painted the picture of your client based on the statistics that are out there in society about them? And what are the things that you've been doing in the situation? And they started to break down and say, I would never let a client live in statistics. I would never want somebody that I care about basing themselves off statistics. But what I would have them do is say, what are things that I can control, and what are things that I need to obtain in order to become the best possible version of myself, to get into the situations that may be difficult at first, that may be challenging at first. And that is my mission for you, is to stay consistent, stay curious, identify what you need, but also strive and drive towards what is actually going to be helpful with and for your situation. I don't care what anybody else says. I don't care what your friend says. I don't care what another program says. I don't care what another YouTube video says. If you don't think about what you need and how you actually operate in this planet, regardless of what you have, you'll never be able to maximize it because it was not built for you. So that's why I always say, when going through a difficult situation or going through adversity, get curious, not critical. If something doesn't go how you want it to go, you got to really do an analysis on that and say, what are some things that went right? What are some things that I did? And what were the things that I did not do in order to have a better picture? Because we're not all perfect. All we are is individuals that are striving and driving towards the goals that we want. But if you're not specifically sure what you want with and for your situation, it's difficult for you to demand of yourself. It's difficult for you to demand of other people. But more importantly, it's difficult for you to get the resources, services, and all these different things that you need with and for your situation. And that's why I always say, it's not the people that are successful that are going to continue to be successful. It's the people that have failed over and over and over and over, but know who they are and what they need in order to become the best possible version of themselves, that will surpass the individuals that get it the first time, that will surpass the individuals that have never been through something, will surpass the individuals that have never experienced any discomfort or pain. So that's my push too, is don't run from your success. Don't run from where you come from. Embrace who you are and where you've been, but also embrace where you want to go. Don't be afraid to say you're going to pass the test. Don't be afraid to tell people you're going to pass the test. Don't be afraid to tell somebody you're going to do private practice. Don't be afraid to do something, because at the end of the day, you got to take ownership over your situation. You got to take ownership over your story. You can't change what you've been through, but what you can change is how you react to the things that you've been through and how you can write the story in the future. But if you're letting somebody else that should not be in your situation tell you what that you should be doing, you're letting somebody else that's not even looking out for you tell you where to go. If you're letting somebody else that you know that you shouldn't be repping and rocking with in your situation, then you got to ask yourself, why am I letting people that do not deserve to be in my situation take up residence there? Why would I let individuals or information or things take up space in my mind? Because of my mind and what I do and who I am and my time are way too valuable to be doing things that are not going to be helpful with and for my situation. So that's my push, is you got to identify, how can I stay consistent? And if this is something that I'm not being consistent in, is this important enough for me? Because if this isn't important to you, that's okay. You just got to admit and say, man, I don't really want to do this right now. But if you deep down in your heart want to do this, you got to ask yourself, what am I doing? Am I afraid if I pass this test, or if I'm afraid if I do that goal that I can't maintain it? And if that's the case, you got to ask yourself, why do I feel like I don't deserve good things? Why do I feel like I don't deserve to be in the spaces and places that people are in, that I may arguably be more talented? I may arguably have more passion. I may arguably have more skills and gifts and abilities, and maybe that's my gift, but again, your gift will make room for you. You can't give your gift to somebody else because you think that they can maximize it more, because why was it given to you in the first place? So that's where you got to remind yourself is you've been put on this planet to do something. But if you keep hiding who you are, you keep hiding what you do, you keep running away from your success, you got to really ask yourself, why am I delaying the blessing that's there to be for me? For me, and trying to mirror myself off of somebody else that's given a different gift. Why am I giving my power to somebody else? And that's what you got to ask yourself, is the way that you approach yourself, the way you communicate with yourself, the way that you do things has to align with where you want to go. But if talking negatively to yourself, running away from what you want to do, letting somebody else take control of you, measuring yourself up to somebody else, comparing yourself to somebody else, is how you think you're going to get there, be my guest. But tell me how it's going to be maintainable. You may obtain your goal, but how maintainable is it going to be if you're in a space and place that you're like, I don't belong to be here? It's probably going to be a terrible experience. But when you look at yourself and say, I've been through what I've been through because I need to get through those things, but I also need to get to where I want to go. But a lot of times people don't get to where they want to be at because they have things that they have unsolved in their situation, but what they've done is just put them to the side, and they've started to side with other people versus reminding themselves that in order to let go of something, in order to embrace something, I have to put attention on it. But if I don't put attention on things that are still there that don't need to be in my situation anymore, it's going to create tension inside of myself. It's going to create tension in between me and other people. But it's more importantly going to prevent you from getting to the spaces and places and levels that you deserve to be in. So that is my push. Stay consistent, stay intentional, stay deliberate, stay curious, stay importantly identifying who you are, what you need, getting the assistance that you particularly need, getting the accommodations, giving yourself grace to run the race, but also more importantly, reminding yourself, where do I want to go? And have I been living in that space and place that's going to help me get to where I need to be? So that is my push. Still be who you are without the negative judgment. What would you say? What would you do? How would you conduct yourself if you weren't the biggest and harshest critic of yourself with and for your situation? Because a lot of times the things that people say to themselves, nobody else would say them to them. A lot of times, if you're viewing somebody of like, man, what are they going to think about me? Oftentimes they're not thinking about you as much as you think they are actually thinking about you. So again, take control, take responsibility, but more importantly, give yourself the grace to run the race, but also give yourself credit for what you've been through. Embrace who you've been, because I can guarantee it. You've been through adversity. You've been through difficult situations. You've been through pain. You've been through loss. You've been through all of these different things, but a lot of times people don't think about their losses as much as they think about all the things that they want. You got to think about what you've already had and what responsibility you've taken for those things in order for you to get to the spaces and places that you deserve to be in and take the lessons and blessings from those things. Like I said, when you go through a difficult situation or when you face adversity, don't get critical on yourself. Don't beat down on yourself. Don't get negative, but actually get curious and say, what can I take from this situation? What are some lessons and blessings? What are some positive things that I can take from this versus, man, what do I just need to throw away? What do I need to hide? What do I need to push over to the side? Because you're never going to get through the situation, because the only way to get through a situation is to continue propelling forward, never losing your faith, never losing your vision, and never losing the mission that you've been put on in this life and on this planet to do. So as I always say, and more positive thoughts, positive vibes equal positive results, but you also need that positive environment that's going to be walking with you. You need that positive environment that's going to be building you up. You need that positive mindset that says anything that happens in my life, whether I want to embrace it or not, whether it's something that I view as positive or not, I don't get to control what happens to me. I get to control how I will respond, but I also have to find the lessons and blessings and positivities within everything that I've been through, because I don't know where I'm supposed to be ending up at. But as I do this, I need to remind myself that every step that I take, every breath that I take, every moment that I have, everything that I do is going to lead me closer to where I am supposed to be versus where I think I need to be. Because again, your fear of where you are going to end up, or your fear of not getting to where you want to be, or your fear of X, Y, and Z needs to be smaller and needs to be quieter than your faith of you actually being in the right space and place to get the right things that you need in order to be the best possible version of yourself. So hopefully that was helpful for somebody. Hopefully you can take at least one thing from that. Hopefully you can continue building yourself up even in the face of adversity and get yourself into a situation that you know that you need to be in. Don't belittle yourself. Don't degrade yourself. Don't talk negative to yourself. Don't view negativity in your situation, because all that's going to do is you spending your time and your energy on something that's not going to be giving back to you, but it's giving it the power and control to something else. So when you're going through something, don't think, man, how can I just put my head down and ignore this? Say, how can I actually embrace all the lessons and blessings from this in order to become the best possible version of myself, in order to get to the spaces and places and impact the people that I want to impact in the way that I need to. So when you're going through adversity, do not get critical, get curious, but also when you feel your pride keep creeping in, so when you feel your pride creeping in, you got to tell yourself, I'm not going to let my pride and my ego get in the way. I'm going to take the positives out of it, but I'm going to let my ego and pride ride, and I'm going to embrace what is in this moment, because I'm one action away from changing the rest of my life. I'm one action away from becoming the best possible version of myself. I'm one action away from being the person that I'm supposed to be. And as I always say, from the bottom of my heart, I appreciate every single one of you guys that are repping and rocking with me, and that any capacity that have spread my name, that have shared what I've been doing or anything. From the bottom of my heart, I appreciate every single one of you guys, whether it's your positivity in the emails, whether it's just you coming to the sessions, whether it's you just watching the videos, whether it's you just hitting the like button or anything. From the bottom of my heart, I appreciate every single one of you guys, because without you, there's no me. I'm just some average guy that had an idea. I'm just some average guy that was spreading some information, and it hit the right people, and the right people started repping and rocking with me. That's why a lot of times people are like, man, Phil, why do you keep going? And I keep going because I know that we haven't reached everybody that needs the assistance. We haven't reached everybody that is struggling. We haven't reached everybody to become the best possible version of themselves. So again, don't diminish the impact that you can have, because as long as you're doing one right thing, or as long as you're impacting one person, you've done enough, because one person can impact another, that can impact another, that can impact another, and now you have a bunch of people. But don't diminish yourself in order to get into a space and place you know that you don't need to be in. So from the bottom of my heart, I appreciate every single one of you guys. Take care, be safe, keep building yourself up. Do not let one thought, one situation, one person take you outside of what you know to be true. I love every single one of you guys. I love every single one of you guys. Keep progressing, keep striving, keep driving. Give yourself the grace to go into the exam, to kick it directly in the chest, to get the job done. The rest of this video is going to be me breaking down questions. But if you've gotten this far in the video, like I said, from the bottom of my heart, I appreciate every single one of you guys. Take care, be safe. I love you. I'll see you guys in the next video. And peace out, guys. Let's segue now into the practice questions. And before we get into these practice questions, as I stated before, do not beat up on yourself. Do not get yourself riled and dialed up if you're not getting as many questions correct as you would like to. But get curious of, what am I not doing, or what are some things that I didn't see previously as we were going through the questions. So again, don't beat up on yourself. Don't feel like you're not doing the right things, but get curious and identify, what are some things that I can change, or what are some things that I've been told in the past that are no longer serving me, so I have to let them go and find what I actually need with and for this situation. So let's get it. Question 1. A social worker in a private practice is meeting with a 19-year-old female around concerns of excessive worry and episodes of depression. The woman reports that her friend completed suicide last month and that she's not been coping the best with it. The woman reports that she finds it difficult to get out of bed, avoids phone calls from her friends, and has been neglecting her activities of daily living. The social worker asks the woman how she has been coping with her mental health symptoms, and the woman informs the social worker that she's been drinking alcohol and having increased amounts of sex. What should the social worker do first in this situation? A. assess the woman for suicidal ideations to gauge the likelihood that she will complete suicide. B, provide information to the woman on the stages of grief to validate what she has been experiencing. C, work with the woman to identify goals for treatment to prioritize the different presenting issues in her life. D, gather more information regarding the woman's alcohol use to ensure that she is safe. All right, so let's look back at the question to see what we're looking at in particular. So we're a social worker in a private practice. That's who we are and where we are at, meeting with a 19-year-old female. So that is our client, around concerns of excessive worry and episodes of depression. So that's what brought her in what she's been working on with us. The woman reports that her friend completed suicide last month and that she's not been coping the best with it. In a length of time, hop on top of it because it helps paint the picture of what we're looking at. So her friend completed suicide last month. The woman reports that she finds it difficult to get out of bed, avoids phone calls from her friends, and has been neglecting her activities of daily living, which would be consistent to her episodes of depression. The social worker asks the woman how she has been coping with her mental health symptoms, and the woman informs the social worker that she's been drinking alcohol and having increased amounts of sex. What should the social worker do first in this situation? First, next, best, most, and should all mean the same thing. So do not let one word dictate how you answer the question. And why I get so fired up about that is because there are programs out there, or there are people out there that say, man, you see these words, you got to worship these words, or man, you see this, you got to be doing this. We do not base our answer off of one word. The most important parts of the question are not the first, next, best, most, should specifiers, but the details of the actual question. This is an application question. Why? Because it's a client scenario that we have to react to in the best way that we know how. So let's apply the acronym to each answer choice. Each answer choice back to the question to see what we're looking at in particular. A, assess the woman for suicidal ideations to gauge the likelihood that she will complete suicide. This is going to be a safety assess. Safety, why? Because there's a potential safety issue. Assess, why? Because we're gathering clinical data to help progress the therapeutic process in some way, shape, or form. B, provide information to the woman on the stages of grief to validate what she has been experiencing. This is going to be educate. Why? Because we're providing her information that she could utilize in the session today. If we were providing her information that she's not going to be utilizing in the session and utilizing it on her own, we would be looking at an advocate. Why? A equals all by themselves. C, work with the woman to identify goals for treatment to prioritize the different presenting issues in her life. This is going to be a feelings. Why? Because it's getting her direct perspective of what's going on with and for her situation. And some people may say, man, Phil, it says work with, that's an intervention. But you got to understand the meaning of the answer choice, not just the answer choice, because if we're basing it off the answer choice, we're half reading it. We got to read the entire answer choice and say, what does this actually mean versus, okay, it says work with, I'm just going to call it a day. D, gather more information regarding the woman's alcohol use to ensure that she is safe. This is going to be a safety assess. Safety, why? Because it's a potential safety issue. Assess, why? Because we're gathering clinical data to help progress the therapeutic process in some way, shape, or form. Let's look back at the question to see what we're looking at in particular. So, quick review. Social worker, private practice, that's who we are, where we're at. We're a therapist, we're an agency, 19-year-old female, that's our client, around concerns of excessive worry and episodes of depression. So that's what brought her in. The woman reports that her friend completed suicide last month. In a length of time, hop on top of it because it helps paint the picture of what we're looking at. So her friend completed suicide last month. She's not been coping the best with it. The woman reports that she finds it difficult to get out of bed, avoids phone calls from her friends, and has been neglecting her activities of daily living, which again are going to be consistent with her episodes of depression. The social worker asks the woman how she has been coping with her mental health symptoms, and the woman informs the social worker that she's been drinking alcohol and having increased amounts of sex. So drinking alcohol and having sex are the ways that she has been coping, that she's stating she's not coping the best with it. So keep all that in mind as we go through each answer choice. So right off the bat, we're going to rule out A, why nowhere in the question does it state that she has any history of suicidal ideation or any current presentation of suicidal ideations. And you may say, Phil, she has episodes of depression. What are you talking about? Well, she didn't state that she's had any symptoms of depression outside of difficulty getting out of bed, avoiding phone calls, and neglecting her activities of daily living. And if we look back, she stated that her friend completed suicide, but her friend completing suicide has nothing to do with her. So we're not just going to be like, okay, so you have excessive worry, episodes of depression, your friend completed suicide. You want to find different ways to be able to cope with what has been going on. You state that you've been drinking alcohol and have increased amounts of sex. So do you want to kill yourself? It's not within the context of this situation. And I know a lot of times people are like, man, we need to rule out safety first and da-da-da. She's in the agency with this right now. What would make us think that she is unsafe? Nothing. So if we also think about it, engage the likelihood that she will complete suicide. If she doesn't say that she has ever had any suicidal ideations, we're not going to say, okay, well, just in case, would you kill yourself? Bad moves, bad vibes. If it's not in the question, we cannot use it. We're also going to rule out B. Why? Because we're not just going to jump like a cat that got squirted with water into action and say, okay, so your friend completed suicide last month, so let's focus on grief when she is coming in with multiple different presenting concerns. She has excessive worry, episodes of depression, her friend completed suicide, she's finding it difficult to cope, she's drinking alcohol, having increased amounts of sex. So we're not just going to be like, okay, here's the stages of grief, this is what you want to focus on, and this is what I think is going best within your situation. So now we're in between C, work with the woman to identify goals for treatment and to prioritize the different presenting issues in her life, or D, gather more information regarding the woman's alcohol use to ensure that she is safe. Let's look back at the question and see what we're looking at in particular. So we're a social worker in a private practice. We are meeting with a 19-year-old female. So that is our first session with this 19-year-old female. She's coming in for excessive worry, episodes of depression. So both of those things, and she's stating that her friend completed suicide last month, so it's fresh. She's not coping the best with it. She tells us her depressive symptoms, difficulty getting out of bed, avoids phone calls from her friends. She's neglecting her activities of daily living, and she's been coping with her mental health by drinking alcohol and having increased amounts of sex. So based on that, would we ask her, hey, do you want to work on the grief of your friend? Do you want to identify coping skills? And or what are some things that you want to focus on? So D would be saying, gather more information regarding her alcohol use to ensure that she is safe. So if we look back at the question, she states that she's drinking alcohol and having increased amounts of sex, and she states that she's not been coping the best with her friend's death. And what we know about her coping so far is she's difficulty getting out of bed, avoiding phone calls, neglecting her activities of daily living, drinking alcohol, and having increased amounts of sex. So for that reason, we are going to rule out D, take out the safety component, because nowhere in the question does it state that her alcohol use is a negative impact within for the situation. Because if we focus on only the alcohol use at this given moment, we're telling this 19-year-old female alcohol is the most important thing within for your situation, which is not the case. Why? She has excessive worry, episodes of depression, her friend completed suicide. She states she's not coping the best with it. So from our mind, she's likely looking for coping skills. We know that she's finding it difficult to get out of bed, avoiding phone calls, and neglecting her activities of daily living, but not so much so that she is not willing to come into an appointment with us. And then she states that she's drinking alcohol and having increased amounts of sex. So therefore, we're going to let our client determine what they want with and for their situation. We're not going to jump with our capes on and say, you know what, you're 19 and drinking, and that's bad moves, bad vibes, because we are unaware of whether her alcohol use is a concern of hers within for this situation. So the correct answer here is C, work with the woman to identify goals for treatment, to prioritize the different presenting issues in her life, because every client has the right to self-determination unless danger to self, suicidal ideations, plans, means, and intent with imminent and or foreseeable danger to somebody else, homicidal ideations, plans, means, and intent, also abuse and neglect of a vulnerable individual, as well as psychosis that could have a negative impact on the situation, and none of those boxes are checked. Yes, she is drinking alcohol, but our first question to her is not, hey, tell me about the alcohol use and are you a danger to yourself, because we're telling her that's what we need to be focusing on. However, it is an intake assessment because it says meeting, it doesn't say the direct length of time, so therefore the information that's being presented in the situation is also introductory. So therefore, A is going to be incorrect because nowhere in the question does it talk about a history of suicidal ideations or any risk factors or anything like that. B is going to be incorrect because we're telling her, hey, you should prioritize on the death of your friend over everything, and our clients have the right to self-determination. And D is incorrect because it is focusing only on the alcohol use when she states that she's having alcohol use and increased amounts of sex, as well as depressive symptoms, as well as her friend completed suicide last month. So therefore, we're going to let her tell us what she, the client wants with and for her situation. So for that reason, the correct answer here is C, work with the woman to identify goals for treatment to prioritize the different presenting issues in her life. So that's how we look at that question in particular. Question 2. A home-based social worker has been working with a 40-year-old male for the past 4 months to help improve his anger. The man has been utilizing strategies to reduce his anger, which has helped to improve his relationship with his mother. During the most recent session, the man reports that his mother is moving out of state and that he is going to be homeless at the end of the month and wants assistance with finding housing. The man reports that he is not sure where to start and feels like the social worker can help him. What would be the best thing for the social worker to do in this situation? A, provide the man a list of various housing options in the area that he can reach out to. B, connect the man with a homeless shelter in the area to ensure he has housing. C, gather information around what the man plans to do for housing to meet him where he is at. D, assess the impact that his mother leaving has on his mental health to better understand this situation. So let's look back at the question to see what we're looking at in particular. So we're a home-based social worker, so that's who we are and what role that we are in. We're working with a 40-year-old male, so that is our client for the past 4 months. You don't like the time, hop on top of it because it helps paint the picture of what we're looking at. So we've been doing the dang thing for 4 months. He came in to improve his anger, so that's what brought him into services 4 months ago. The man has been utilizing strategies to reduce his anger, which has helped to improve his relationship with his mother. Things are getting better. During the most recent session, you don't like the time, hop on top of it because it helps paint the picture of what we're looking at. So what's going on right now, the man reports that his mother is moving out of state and that he is going to be homeless at the end of the month and wants assistance with finding housing. You don't like the time, hop on top of it because it helps paint the picture of what we're looking at. So he potentially could be homeless at the end of the month. The man reports that he is not sure where to start and feels like the social worker can help him. What would be the best thing for the social worker to do in this situation? First, next, best, most, and should all mean the same thing. So do not let one word dictate how you answer the question, because I know a lot of times people are like, man, first, next, best, most, it's going to tell you all these things. You got to stay in the question and make sure that what is there is actually there. This is going to be an application question. Why? Because it's a client scenario that we have to react to in the best way that we know how. So let's apply the acronym D, each answer choice. Each answer choice back to the question to see what we're looking at in particular. A, provide the man a list of various housing options in the area that he can reach out to. This is going to be an advocate. Why? A equals all by themselves, because the social worker is going to provide the needed information, resources, and services to the man, and he subsequently will have to utilize the information on his own. B, connect the man with a homeless shelter in the area to ensure he has housing. This is going to be a facilitate. Why? F equals a friend, because the social worker is going to provide a connection to another professional, aka a friend, and the man would still be working with the social worker on his anger, yet would get supplemental services at the homeless shelter. C, gather information around what the man plans to do for housing to meet him where he is at. This is going to be an assess. Why? Because it's us gathering clinical data to help progress the therapeutic process in some way, shape, or form. D, assess the impact his mother leaving has on his mental health to better understand the situation. This is going to be a feelings. Why? Because it's getting his direct perspective of what's going on with and for a situation. Let's look back at the question to see what we're looking at in particular. So, quick review, home-based social worker. So that's who we are, where we're at. We're inside the home of a 40-year-old male. That's our client. Past 4 months. You don't like the time, hop on top of it because I'll also paint the picture of what we're looking at. We have a rapport. We've been working with the individual to help improve his anger. So that's what brought him in 4 months ago. The man has been utilizing strategies to reduce his anger, which has helped to improve his relationship with his mother. During the most recent session, you don't like the time, hop on top of it because it also paints the picture of what we're looking at. So what's going on right now. The man reports that his mother is moving out of state and that he is going to be homeless at the end of the month and wants assistance with finding housing. So he lives with his mother. his mother's moving out, and he feels like he's going to be homeless based on the fact that she is no longer going to be in the same state as him. The man reports that he is not sure where to start and feels like the social worker can help him. So keep all that in mind as we go through each answer choice. So right off the bat, we're going to rule out B. Why? Because at the end of the month, he is going to be becoming homeless. So therefore, if we're going to connect him to a homeless shelter, if somebody's going to get services from a homeless shelter, they must be homeless in order to get benefit from the assistance that could be provided. Because if you take somebody to a homeless shelter and they're not homeless, they will not be accepted at that homeless shelter. So bad moves, bad vibes, because he's not homeless just yet. We're also going to rule out D. Why? Because we're not wanting to focus on, man, what's it like for your mom to not be around you any longer, because the mom is still around, and he is not saying that he's struggling with that, but he also states that he wants assistance with finding housing. He's like, you know what? I really need to get some housing under my belt. And if we're like, okay, so tell me what it's like for your mom to be gone, we're not meeting him where he's at. Yes, we want to validate where people are at. Yes, we want to understand what their perspectives are. But at this given moment, this man's like, I'm going to be homeless at the end of the month. Me talking about my mom leaving and the impact it has on my mental health is not going to get me housing. So we have to stay focused on what our client wants and how we can help them with and for their situation. Now we're in between A, provide the man a list of various housing options in the area that he can reach out to, or C, gather information around what the man plans to do for housing to meet him where he's at. Let's look back at the question. We're a home-based social worker. Our client's a 40-year-old male, past 4 months. We've been doing the dang thing to help him improve his anger. The man has been utilizing strategies to reduce his anger, which has helped to improve his relationship with his mother, which has gotten him a nice housing environment. During the most recent session, he's like, man, my mom is going to move out of state, so I'm not really going to have the ability to live with her any longer, and I'm going to be homeless at the end of the month. Not right now, but at the end of the month. Not right now, but at the end of the month. I want help with finding housing. And we're like, okay, we could ask him, what do you plan to do? However, he states, I'm not sure where to start and feel like you can help me. So at this given moment, we're like, okay, so what do you plan to do? He's saying, I'm not sure what to do. So if we do C, we're saying, hey, what do you think could be helpful for you? He's going to say, I have no idea. I just told you that. So C has already been answered in the question. And yes, it says to meet him where he's at. So therefore, we're not going to be meeting him where he's at if we're just assuming and being like, okay, well, C sounds really great, because every answer that sounds great is not a great option, because he informed you, I have no clue where to start. I feel like you can help me. And C's like, so what do you plan to do? He's going to say, you helping me, right? So the correct answer here is going to be A, provide the man a list of housing options in the area that he can reach out to. Why? Because it gives him some accountability, but also some buying into services, because at the end of the month, he is going to become homeless. Not right now. So B is incorrect, because at the end of the month, he's going to be homeless, but not right now. So a homeless shelter is going to turn him away and be like, we can't really help you at this given moment, but once you become homeless, we may be able to. C is going to be incorrect, because he already tells you, I'm not even sure where to start or what to do. I want you to help me. So C is bad moves, bad vibes, because it's already been answered in the question. And D is incorrect, because yes, we want to understand the impact of his mother leaving, but he's not looking to process his feelings. He's not looking for us to validate where he's coming from. He's looking for us to say, yo, what can I do to not have homelessness be a description of where I'm at? Or, man, what are some options that I have? So the correct answer here is A, provide the man a list of various housing options the area can reach out to, because 1, he still has time before the end of the month. 2, it allows for him to have the right to self-determination and freedom to choose where he would like to stay. And 3, it allows for him to know that we are here to assist him in the way that he wants to be assisted, not the way that we think that we should be going with based on the buzzwords. Don't go with the buzzwords. You're not a bee. You're going to get stung. So the correct answer here is A, provide the man a list of various housing options in the area that he can reach out to. So that's how we look at that question in particular. Question 3. A hospital social worker is meeting with a 45-year-old male and his 42-year-old husband to discuss aftercare options. The 45-year-old man just had hip replacement surgery and does not feel confident with his ability to recover at home. The 42-year-old man believes his husband will be fine recovering at home and denies needing any additional services. What is the best thing for the social worker to do in this situation? A. Respect the man's right to self-determination and discharge him from the hospital. B. Provide information to the couple regarding skilled nursing facilities in the area that he can go to for additional assistance. C. Gather information regarding the differing opinions of the couple to better understand their perspective. D. Consult with the man's doctor to decide the best solution for the man's situation. So let's look back at the question to see what we're looking at in particular. So we're a hospital social worker. That's who we are and where we are at, meeting with a 45-year-old male and his 42-year-old husband. The purpose of the meeting is to discuss aftercare options. The 45-year-old man, so half of the client system, just had hip replacement surgery and does not feel confident with his ability to recover at home. The 42-year-old man, so the other half of the client system that is present, believes his husband will be fine recovering at home and denies needing any additional services. What is the best thing for the social worker to do in this situation? First, next, best, most, and should all mean the same thing. So do not let one word dictate how you answer the question. This is an application question. Why? Because it's a client scenario that we have to react to in the best way that we know how. So let's apply the acronym to each answer choice back to the question. Do you see what we're looking at in particular? A, respect the man's right to self-determination and discharge him from the hospital. This one is going to be intervene. Why? Because its lack of action is still in action, and we would just be saying, hey, bye, have a nice life. But in addition to that, that is going to be bad moves, bad vibes. Why? Because we'll let the question determine that in just a second. B, provide information to the couple regarding skilled nursing facilities in the area that he can go to for additional assistance. This is educate. Why? Because it's us providing information that he can utilize in the session today. C, gather information regarding the differing opinions of the couple to better understand their perspective. This is going to be an assess. Why? Because it's us gathering clinical data to help progress the therapeutic process in some way, shape, or form. But it's also bad moves, bad vibes, and we'll let the question determine that in just a second. D, consult with the man's doctor to decide the best solution for the man's situation. This is going to be an intervene. Why? Because it's an action on the social worker's end to help progress the therapeutic process in some way, shape, or form. Let's look back at the question to see what we're looking at in particular. So, quick review: hospital social worker, hospital social worker, hospital social worker. So that's who we are, where we're at, meeting with a 45-year-old male and his 42-year-old husband. So we're meeting with two individuals to discuss aftercare options, to discuss aftercare options, to discuss aftercare options. So that's the purpose of the meeting. The 45-year-old man just had hip replacement surgery and does not feel confident with his ability to recover at home. The 42-year-old man believes his husband will be fine recovering at home and denies needing any additional services. So keep all that in mind. So go through each answer choice. So right off the bat, we're going to rule out A. Why? Because we are a hospital social worker. We're meeting with a 45-year-old male. So that is going to be our client. Why? Because the 45-year-old man was the individual that had the hip replacement surgery. Therefore, he is saying, I do not feel confident with my ability to recover at home. So we would have to be adhering to the 45-year-old male, not the 42-year-old man, aka the husband of our client. Bad moves, bad vibes. So even though it says right to self-determination, we can't respect somebody's right to self-determination if they're telling us, I don't want to recover at home. We're not going to be like, okay, bye, have a nice life, because remember, the purpose of the meeting is to discuss aftercare options. So we're not just going to be like, okay, you feel uncomfortable? I'm out. I'm getting off shift. I'm about to take a lunch. I'm gone. Bye now. Bad moves, bad vibes. We're also going to rule out C. Why? Because even though it's like, man, gather information regarding the opinions, the opinion of the individual, aka our client, is the only opinion that matters, which is the 45-year-old male who had the hip replacement surgery, because the hip replacement surgery is the reason why we're in the hospital, and we are a hospital social worker, so we want to respect our client's opinion and our client's view and allow for our client, not everyone else in the room, not somebody that's connected to the client unless they aren't oriented ×4 and have the decision-making capacity. So therefore, C, we don't really give a crap what his husband says because the husband's a part of the equation. But if our client's like, man, I don't want to recover at home, and the husband's like, oh, just get home. You don't need additional assistance. You're just always being a drama person. Bad moves. Bad vibes. Now we're between B, provide information to the couple regarding skilled nursing facilities in the area that it can go to for additional assistance, or D, consult with the man's doctor to decide the best solution for the man's situation. Let's look back at the question. We're a hospital social worker. Our client is the 45-year-old male. Why? Because he had hip replacement surgery, but his husband, the 42-year-old man, is in the session as well. The purpose of the meeting is to discuss aftercare options. So that is the purpose of why we're meeting with them. The man's like, man, I am not comfortable recovering at home. The 42-year-old man is like, screw it. He's coming home. My husband can recover at home. Everything will be a-okay. So for B, do we want to provide resources and options to the client that wants the additional options? Or D, say, okay, doc, what do you think? I'm not really sure what this guy needs. Well, if we think about it, if we're talking about aftercare options, what do you think the doctor had us do? Oh, the doctor was like, you're probably leaving the hospital. And as a social worker, our job in the hospital is to ensure that our clients have their needs as well as the follow-up services that they could possibly benefit from. So therefore, D is incorrect because it's already been done in the question, because we wouldn't be discussing aftercare options if they were not getting outside of the hospital. So the correct answer here is B, provide information to the couple regarding skilled nursing facilities that he can go to for additional assistance. And why we're providing information to the couple is because we're not just going to ignore the 42-year-old husband at this given moment. We would provide information to both of them, but we would allow for the 45-year-old man to have the right to self-determination. A is incorrect because respecting the right to self-determination and then discharging the man would not be where the man actually wants to be, because he says he does not feel confident in his ability to recover at home. C is incorrect because it does not matter what the man's husband is saying, because the 45-year-old man has the right to self-determination. They have the ability to make sound decisions with and for their situation. And D is incorrect because the doctor is the one that likely said, hey, I need you to talk to this man and this person's partner in order to get them outside of the hospital, because insurances aren't going to pay for this if they are in the level of recovery that they are no longer in a negative health position, and we are going to get them outside of the hospital. So the correct answer here is B. Provide information to the couple regarding skilled nursing facilities in the area that he can go to for additional assistance. Why? Because that's what he is asking for. So the correct answer here is B. Provide information to the couple regarding skilled nursing facilities in the area that he can go to for additional assistance. So that's how we look at that question in particular. Question 4. A social worker in a community mental health clinic has been working with a 23-year-old female for the past 2 months regarding anger issues. Throughout treatment, the woman has been working on communicating her needs with people and utilizing anger management techniques to better express her feelings. During the most recent session, the woman informs the social worker that she got into a physical altercation with her new boyfriend, who is 67 years old, that she met 2 weeks ago. The woman wants to identify ways to improve the relationship. What should the social worker do first in this situation? A. Contact Adult Protective Services regarding the abuse that the woman shared. B. Facilitate discussion around how the woman met her new boyfriend to better understand the situation. C. Inquire about the argument that the woman had with her new boyfriend to better understand the situation before contacting Adult Protective Services. D. Gather information around the woman's new relationship and work with her to identify strategies she can utilize to improve the relationship. Let's look back at the question to see what we're looking at in particular. Social worker, community mental health clinic, that's we are, and where we are at, working with a 23-year-old female. So that is our client. Past 2 months. You don't like the time. Hop on top of it because it also paints the picture of what we're looking at. She came in regarding anger issues, so that's what brought her in 2 months ago. Throughout treatment, you don't like the time. Hop on top of it because it also paints the picture of what we're looking at. So for the past 2 months, the woman has been working on communicating her needs with people and utilizing anger management techniques to better express her feelings. So things have gotten better. During the most recent session, you don't like the time. hop on top of it because I'll paint the picture of what we're looking at. So what's going on right now. The woman informs the social worker that she got into a physical altercation with her new boyfriend. So she got into a physical altercation. Her new boyfriend is 67 years old, and she met him 2 weeks ago. Like the time, hop on top of it because I'll paint the picture of what we're looking at. And the woman wants to identify ways to improve her relationship. What should the social worker do first in this situation? First, next, best, most, and should all mean the same thing. So do not let one word dictate how you answer the question. This is going to be an application question. Why? Because it's a client scenario that we have to react to in the best way that we know how. So let's apply the acronym to each answer choice. Each answer choice back to the question to see what we're looking at in particular. A, contact Adult Protective Services regarding the abuse that the woman shared. This is going to be a safety intervene. Safety, why? Because it is a potential safety issue. Intervene, why? Because it's an action on the social worker's end to help progress the therapeutic process in some way, shape, or form. B, facilitate discussion around how the woman met her new boyfriend to better understand the situation. And this one is going to be an assess. Why? Because it's us gathering clinical data to help progress the therapeutic process in some way, shape, or form. C, inquire about the argument that the woman had with her new boyfriend or had with her boyfriend to better understand the situation before contacting Adult Protective Services. This is going to be a safety assess. Safety, why? Because it's a potential safety issue. Assess, why? Because it's us gathering clinical data to help progress the therapeutic process in some way, shape, or form. D, gather information around the woman's new relationship and work with her to identify strategies she can utilize to improve the relationship. This is going to be feelings. Why? Because it's getting her direct perspective of what's going on with and for her situation. Let's look back at the question to see what we're looking at in particular. So, quick review. Social worker, community mental health clinic. That's who we are, where we're at. Client is a 23-year-old female. That is our client. Past 2 months. Length of time. Hop on top of it because I'll also paint the picture of what we're looking at. So that's how long we've been doing the dang thing. She came in regarding anger issues. So that's what brought her in 2 months ago throughout treatment. Length of time. Hop on top of it because I'll also paint the picture of what we're looking at. So for the past 2 months, the woman's been working on communicating her needs with people and utilizing anger management techniques to better express her feelings during the most recent session. Length of time. Hop on top of it because it also paint the picture of what we're looking at. So what's going on right now. The woman informed the social worker that she got into a physical altercation with her new boyfriend, who is 67 years old, that she met 2 weeks ago. Length of time. Hop on top of it because it helps paint the picture of what we're looking at. So that is how long they've been together, and the woman wants to identify ways to improve her relationship. What should the social worker do first? Again, first, next, best, most, should all mean the same thing, so keep all that in mind as we go through each answer choice. So right off the bat, we're going to rule out A. Why? Because Adult Protective Services, yes, it is for individuals that are over the ages of 65 years old. However, it must be abuse and or neglect of a vulnerable individual over the ages of 65 years old or somebody that has an intellectual or cognitive disability. But the caveat here is that the individual must be responsible or a caregiver of the elder that they are taking care of. So therefore, this 23-year-old individual is not responsible for taking care of their partner, and we have no idea what's going on. Did the 67-year-old initiate the fight? Did the 23-year-old initiate the fight with the 67-year-old? So we have no idea what's going on. So A is way too fast and it's jumping like a cat that got squirted with water, going with the buzzwords. We're not a B. We're going to get stung. So we're just hopping and going into conclusions. We're also going to rule out C for the exact same reason, because yes, in C, we would be asking about the argument, but in addition to that, regardless of what she tells us, we're contacting Adult Protective Services. And again, we're only able to contact Adult Protective Services if somebody is abusing and or neglecting somebody that is 65 years or older, or somebody that has an intellectual or cognitive disability, and they are responsible for taking care of that individual. But nowhere in the question does it state that she is responsible for taking care of her intimate partner and or who is the aggressor during the arguments. Now we are in between B, facilitate discussion around how the woman met her new boyfriend to better understand the situation, or D, gather information around the woman's new relationship and work with her to identify strategies she can utilize to improve the relationship. Let's look back at the question. We're in a community mental health clinic. Our client's 23 years old. We've been working with them for the past 2 months regarding anger issues. They've been doing the dang thing, communicating their needs exercising anger management techniques. They're expressing their feelings. They tell us that they got into a physical altercation with their new boyfriend. So based on that, it doesn't say that they initiated the fight or who initiated it. They're just like, you know what? There was a physical altercation that occurred, and I'm not really sure what's going on at this moment. The person is 67 years old, but in addition to that, they met them 2 weeks ago and they want to improve their relationship. So from that perspective, would we be like, all right, sister, how'd you meet this 67-year-old individual? Or would we be like, okay, so what is going on with this new relationship, and how do you think that we can improve it? So for that reason, do we want to be like, hey, how'd you meet this individual? And if we ask that, it's almost like we're coming from the angle that we're looking for somebody that is older with and for the situation, because it does not matter. It does not matter. It does not matter how she met the individual. If they want to be in a relationship with somebody that's 100 years old, as long as both parties are consenting, it's A-okay. So for that reason, we're going to go with D, gather more information regarding the relationship, because it's only been going on for 2 weeks. So therefore, we're going to identify, so what has the relationship been like? Because what if the 67-year-old is the one that is abusing her, the 23-year-old, and we contact Adult Protective Services? We're going to be jumping like a cat that got squirted with water and basing it off of hearsay, and that's bad moves, bad vibes. So A is incorrect because there's not enough information in the question. B is incorrect because it doesn't matter how she met her boyfriend. She could date whoever she wants to. And C is incorrect because we're not going to be like, okay, tell me about the argument, but regardless of what you tell me, APS is going to be knocking at the door. The correct answer here is D, tell me about the new relationship. In addition to that, how do you want to proceed, and how can we help you improve it? Because improvements are going to be based on what our client wants, because we have to meet our clients where they're at with and for their situation. So the correct answer here is D, gather information around the woman's new relationship and work with her to identify strategies she can utilize to improve the relationship, because all we know is that she's been doing well in treatment. She got into a physical altercation. Yes, her partner is 67 years old, but we don't want to assume coercion. We do not want to assume any malicious intent. They've only been together for 2 weeks. She wants to improve the relationship. So again, A is incorrect regardless of what's going on. She's not a caregiver of the 67-year-old because an intimate relationship would be considered domestic violence. B is incorrect because it doesn't matter how they met. We're not trying to be coming from the angle like we're looking for a sugar individual. Bad moves, bad vibes. C is incorrect because we're not going to say, tell me about the argument, and regardless of what's going on, I'm contacting APS. So the correct answer here is D. Tell me about your relationship and how I can help you. So the correct answer here is D. Gather information around the woman's new relationship and work with her to identify strategies she can utilize to improve the relationship. So that's how we look at that question in particular. Question 5. A social worker in a private practice has been working with a 44-year-old male regarding relationship issues for the past 4 months. The man struggles with setting boundaries with people and communicating his needs, which often leads to outbursts of anger. The man engaged in services after his girlfriend threatened to break up with him during the most recent session. The man informs the social worker that he has been feeling overwhelmed with everything in his life. The man reports that his brother bought a gun and threatened to kill their mother. The man reports that his girlfriend does not approve of his involvement in the situation and that she has not been back to their house in 2 days. What should the social worker do first in this situation? A. Facilitate discussion around the threats that the man's brother has been making to ensure that everyone is safe. B. Gather information regarding the impact of the man's girlfriend being away from the home has had on him. C. Provide the man information regarding the steps needed to get his brother hospitalized to ensure that everyone is safe. D. Work with the man to identify what he would like to focus on in this session to reduce his feelings of being overwhelmed. So let's look back at the question. We're a social worker in a private practice. That's who we are and where we are at, working with a 44-year-old male. So that is our client regarding relationship issues. So that's what he's wanting to focus on for the past 4 months. You know, like the time. Hop on top of it because it also paints the picture for what we're looking at. The man struggles with setting boundaries with people and communicating his needs, which often leads to outbursts of anger. The man engaged in services after his girlfriend threatened to break up with him, so that's what made him come into services 4 months ago. During the most recent session, you know, like the time, hop on top of it because I'll paint the picture of what we're looking at. So what's going on right now? The man informs the social worker that he has been feeling overwhelmed with everything in his life. And the man reports that his brother bought a gun and threatened to kill their mother. The man also reports that his girlfriend does not approve of his involvement in the situation and that she has not been back to their house in 2 days. In a length of time, hop on top of it because I'll explain the picture of what we're looking at. What should the social worker do first in this situation? First, next, best, most, and should all mean the same thing. So do not let one word dictate how you answer the question. This is going to be an application question. Why? Because it's a client scenario that we have to react to in the best way that we know how. Let's apply the acronym to each answer choice. Each answer choice back to the question. This is what we're looking at in particular. A, facilitate discussion around the threats that the man's brother has been making to ensure that everyone is safe. This is going to be a safety assess. Safety, why? Because there's a potential safety issue. Assess, why? Because we're gathering clinical data to help progress the therapeutic process in some way, shape, or form. B, gather information regarding the impact of the man's girlfriend being away from the home has had on him. This is an assess. Why? Because it's us gathering clinical data to help progress the therapeutic process in some way, shape, or form. C, provide the man information regarding the steps needed to get his brother hospitalized to ensure that everyone is safe. This is going to be a safety educate. Safety, why? Because it's a potential safety issue. Educate, why? Because it's us providing information that he can utilize in the session today. D, work with the man to identify what he would like to focus on in the session to reduce his feelings of being overwhelmed. This is going to be a feelings. Why? Because it's getting his direct perspective of what's going on within for situation. Let's look back at the question to see what we're looking at in particular. So, quick review. Social worker, private practice. That's who we are, where we're at. We're a therapist. We're in an office working with a 44-year-old male. That's our client regarding relationship issues. So that's what brought him in 4 months ago. You know, like the time, hop on top of it because I'll explain the picture of what we're looking at. The man struggles with setting boundaries with people and communicating his needs, which often leads to outbursts of anger. The man engaged in services after his girlfriend threatened to break up with him. So that's what brought him in 4 months ago related to the relationship issues. During the most recent session, in a length of time, hop on top of it because I'll explain the picture of what we're looking at. So what's going on right now. The man informs the social worker that he has been feeling overwhelmed with everything in his life. The man reports that his brother bought a gun and threatened to kill their mother. The man reports that his girlfriend does not approve of his involvement in the situation and that she has not been back to their house in 2 days. You know, like the time, hop on top of it because I'll paint the picture of what we're looking at. So keep all that in mind as we go through each answer choice. So right off the bat, we're going to rule out C. Why? Because we're not just going to be like, okay, so you're feeling overwhelmed. Your brother bought a gun, threatened to kill the mom. Your girlfriend's been away, and let's get your brother hospitalized. Because if we think it all the way through, is the brother an imminent and or foreseeable dangerous force within the situation? That's why we have to peel the question back a little bit further. So if we look at it, he tells us that he's feeling overwhelmed with everything. So that is what he is going through in his situation. He tells us that his brother bought a gun and threatened to kill their mother, and that his girlfriend does not approve of his involvement in the situation. So this is something that has already occurred. She's not been back in their house in 2 days. Therefore, the brother buying the gun and threatening to kill their mother happened 2 days, if not longer ago. So we're not going to be like, okay, we're going to get your brother hospitalized. That's all we need to do, and I'm out. Bad moves, bad vibes. We're also going to rule out B. Why? Because we're not going to say, okay, so you have a lot going on. Your brother bought a gun, threatened to kill your mom. You're worried about your brother and mom, and your girlfriend just kind of was aloof and was like, poof, I'm getting the heck out of here. And she hasn't been back at the house. So we're not going to just jump and say, man, what impact has it had of your girlfriend being gone? Because at the end of the day, what did he come in for? Relationship issues. And she already says, I'm breaking up with you if you don't have your anger under control and if you don't seek out services. So therefore, we're not just going to say, okay, your girlfriend is the most primary thing in the situation because this guy has a ton of things going on and they're bigger fish to fry at this given moment. So now we're in between A, facilitate discussion around the threats the man's brother has been making to ensure that everyone is safe, or D, work with the man to identify what he would like to focus on in the session to reduce his feelings of being overwhelmed. Let's look back at the question. We're in a private practice. Our client's a 44-year-old male. He came in for relationship issues. He's been doing the dang thing for 4 months. He struggles with setting boundaries and communicating his needs. So he is somebody that gets over involved in people's situation, but also finds it difficult to express himself. He gets angry. His girlfriend was like, you know what, seek out services or I'm breaking up with you. He tells us, I'm overwhelmed with everything in my life. And my brother bought a gun, threatened to kill our mother. My girlfriend was like, you know what? You mishandled this situation and I'm out, poof. And she's not been back in the house in 2 days. So therefore, would we focus on the man's brother and say, hey, tell me more about your brother? Or would we keep in mind that he tells us, I find it difficult to not get over involved in people's situation, as well as I find it difficult to focus on myself, as well as communicate my needs. So would we ask him about somebody else that is not him to ensure everyone is safe, even though the situation happened 2 days, if not longer ago? Or would we work with him and say, hey, you have a lot going on. I want to give you the right to choose where we go and how you best want to proceed, so that way you can express your feelings of being overwhelmed in a way that makes sense for you. So for that reason, we're going to take the safety component off of A. Why? Because safety is any imminent and or foreseeable danger within the situation. But if we look back at the question, his girlfriend's mad about his involvement in the situation. It happened 2 days, if not longer ago. So therefore, there are a couple of possibilities. Either 1, the brother killed the mom, which would cause him to be in jail. 2, the brother just made the threat and ran off. 3, nothing really happened within the situation. Or 4, whatever is going to occur. So therefore, A is not imminent and or foreseeable danger, because we're not going to be focusing on somebody that's not our client if there is not any danger to self, danger to other people, abuse, neglect of a vulnerable individual, or psychosis that could have a negative impact on somebody's situation. So therefore, A is going to be incorrect, because we're not going to be like, tell me about your brother and the threats, because he told us he finds it difficult to set boundaries because we don't want him to overstep in situations and own everyone else's situations. But in addition to that, he finds it difficult to communicate his needs. So if we start talking about somebody else other than him, he may not be willing to come back and start talking about himself again. B is incorrect, because yes, we want to identify what impact it has on him, but it's not the most important thing, because it's only a third of the things that have been going on. Why? His brother bought a gun. 2, he threatened to kill the mom. 3, girlfriend's gone. So B is saying your girlfriend's the most primary thing that you need to focus on. And C is incorrect, because that would be him overstepping the boundaries that he has. And this situation happened 2 days, if not longer ago. And the only time that you can get somebody hospitalized if there's imminent and or foreseeable danger to self, danger to other people, or psychosis that is going to have a negative impact on somebody's situation. So therefore, we're going to go with D, because again, he struggles to set boundaries and communicate his needs. So we're going to let him decide what he wants with and for his situation. And yes, I know it says work with, but you got to look past those beginning words and say, what is the meaning of the answer choice, not just the words within the answer choice. So the correct answer here is D, work with the man to identify what he would like to focus on, because again, he's overwhelmed with everything. So he has a ton of things that he could potentially focus on to reduce his feelings of being overwhelmed, because when somebody's openly expressing themselves and communicating their needs, it allows for them to feel better with and for their situation, because again, he's finding it difficult to set boundaries and communicating his needs. So as a social worker, we would advocate for his right to get what he wants with and for his situation. So the correct answer here is D. Work with the man to identify what he would like to focus on in the session to reduce his feelings of being overwhelmed. And again, from the bottom of my heart, I appreciate every single one of you guys. Take care, be safe, keep building yourself up. If you did not get as many questions correct as you wanted to, don't get critical, but get curious and identify what you need with and for your situation. What are some things that are missing? What are some things that you learned? What are some positives? What are some things that you want to do with and for the situation? And if you're looking for additional assistance from me, again, the easiest way to do that is either 1, attend the one-day course, 2, attend the Sunday study groups, 3, attend individual tutoring. But if you need anything, drop me a shout, send me an email. And like I said, from the bottom of my heart, I appreciate every single one of you guys that reps and rocks with me. Keep building yourself up. Keep giving yourself grace. Keep striving and driving towards the right direction. Run the race that you need. Identify what you want. Be consistent. Be intentional. Be deliberate. Identify what you've been doing. What have you been avoiding? What have you been running from? Because when you run from one thing in your life, the way you do one thing is the way you do everything. So don't run from your success. Run towards where you need to be doing things. Not if it's just easy, but make sure that you're challenging yourself, putting yourself into situations to become the best possible version of yourself. Take care. Be safe. I love every single one of you guys. I'll see you guys in the next video. And again, if you need anything, send me an email at berda24@gmail.com. I'm getting the heck out of here. Hope you found the questions helpful. And peace out, guys.